Jason, I don't know if Dabo's been asked this question. I got to think he has, because everybody immediately after that Duke performance is looking across the country, obviously at the number one rival there, not South Carolina, but looking at Florida State and seeing the transfers all over the place that everyone's taken in and producing into productive players, big time players, whatever the case might be. And Clemson doesn't have, off the top of my head, certainly correct me, any impact transfers on this football team, have been less active than anybody else. So that, of course, is going to pop up when there's a performance like there was against Duke and in the first half against Charleston Southern. Your thoughts about the transfer portal and if that has been addressed in recent weeks?
He was asked, but he said and I tend to agree with what he said. That's not why he lost to Duke. I mean, let's get real. They're the more talented team. Duke's got two former blue chip talents on that roster. Clemson's got 50 something, if I'm not mistaken, fifth most in the country. Talent's not why they lost to Duke. But I think there's a misconception out there about Dabo and the transfer portal. Was he slow to come around? Sure. Is he there now? I think he is. I think you'd have seen Clemson take 3 or 4 transfers if they weren't over the 85 going into spring. They were at 88. They just had no room. There was no way they could take any without cutting guys, and that's something he's not going to do. He's not going to yank scholarships. And if you look at that roster, there are only 3 former walk-ons that have scholarships right now. So it's not like a bunch of walk-ons have them or anything. They just didn't have the room. I think they wanted to try to address cornerback, defense, wide receiver, offensive line, possibly defensive end. You start getting all these guys like Tyler Davis, Ruka Rojo, Sheridan Jones, all these super seniors coming back, and guys you thought were NFL bound saying, "Hey, I'm coming back for another year." Spots start filling up fast, and that's what happened to him. But other than that, I think you'll see Dabo use the portal when he thinks he's got some holes. You go back after the 2021 season, they went after an offensive lineman, one of the big time guys. I can't remember his name. It was a hard one to pronounce. I think he ended up in Michigan. They actually officially offered one.
Oluwatimi, who was at Virginia, All-American center.
Yeah. Yep. They went after him, and they actually went as far as offering him, and I know he's not the only one they had contact with. I mean, I think he's there now. Are you going to see him transform his roster? No. Will you see him and use it to fill holes? Yeah. Is he going to cut guys so he can go to the portal? No. He's always going to favor taking that high school kid. That's just who he is.
I think that all makes sense. I think that all makes a lot of sense. It's being adaptable to what's going on, but it's also sticking to your values. And obviously, if they were having issues recruiting out of high school, that would be one thing. And a lot of places have to do that in terms of the transfer portal. Clemson is not one of them for sure.
I think using the transfer portal as an excuse for what you've seen at Clemson last year before last, Duke game, whatever, I think that's the easy answer. Maybe Clemson's got some issues that are a little deeper than that. Maybe if you look at it, go from a sheer talent perspective, again, more talent on the roster than ever before. More blue chip players than ever before, a higher blue chip ratio than ever before. Maybe it's not a transfer portal issue. Maybe there's some development issues somewhere. It is. If you look at the experience of that coach staff, it is not very experienced compared to what it was during the playoff years when you had guys like, Dan Brooks was coaching the defensive line, one of the spots along the defensive line, and Jeff Scott was coaching the wide receivers. I mean, it's just a lot more experience, and you bring in guys to replace them that don't have a lot of experience, and they're kind of learning on the job. And maybe they're having to develop as coaches while they're trying to develop players, Maybe it's a little bit deeper than just not going to the portal.